Maya Chen was not the kind of person who walked into a room and made people turn their heads. She was 26 years old, 5 feet 2 inches tall, and she moved through the world quietly, like someone who had learned a long time ago that being loud was not the same as being right. She had just started working at St. Augustine's Memorial Hospital, in the emergency room. The hospital sat in a coastal Virginia city, 30 minutes from a large naval base, which meant the emergency room was always busy. On weekends, it ran like a war zone with better lighting. The nurses who worked there were experienced. Most of them had been in that ER for a decade or more. They were fast, sharp, and proud of it. Their leader, in an unofficial way, was a woman named Donna Kessler. Donna had been working the ER floor for 20 years. She was tall, broad-shouldered, and had a voice that could cut through the noise of a full trauma bay without her even trying. Everyone respected Donna. Most people were a little afraid of her too. When Maya arrived, Donna looked at her the way a person looks at a small boat that has wandered into deep water. She did not say anything mean directly. She did not have to. The other nurses followed her lead, and Donna's lead was a slow, quiet dismissal. Maya asked too many questions, they said. She was too careful. She moved too slowly when things got chaotic. She triple-checked drug dosages that the others calculated in their heads. She paused before acting when everyone else was already moving. One afternoon, Donna said, loud enough for 2 nurses and a medical student to hear, "She thinks too much." The nurses laughed. The medical student looked at the floor. Maya was 2 bays away, adjusting an IV line. She heard every word. She finished adjusting the line and said nothing. What none of them knew, what Maya had never once mentioned to anyone in that hospital, was where she had come from before nursing school. At the age of 19, Maya Chen had enlisted in the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman. She had deployed twice to Afghanistan, embedded with a special operations unit in one of the most dangerous valleys in Kunar province. She had treated wounds in moving vehicles. She had kept men alive on the ground in the dark while gunfire came from 3 directions. She had made decisions, in seconds, that most doctors in clean hospitals with full equipment would have found nearly impossible to make. She had come home with a medal she never talked about, gone to nursing school on the GI Bill, and decided that saving lives in a warm, dry building sounded like exactly the kind of life she had earned. She did not bring up her service, because she was not interested in trading on it. It was not a badge she wore. It was simply something that had happened, something that had shaped her, something that had shaped her hands and her eyes, and the calm that came over her when things got bad. The problem was that none of that showed. Not to people who hadn't seen her work under real pressure. The moment that changed things came on a Saturday night in November, during one of the worst shifts the ER had seen in months. 3 trauma cases came in, almost at the same time. A child had a seizure in the waiting room. A man who had been in a car accident would not stop fighting the staff. The hallways were loud and bright and full of controlled panic. Maya was paired with Donna in the main trauma bay. A 34-year-old construction worker was brought in after a heavy steel beam had fallen across his chest at a work site. He had been conscious when the paramedics arrived. By the time he reached the trauma bay, he was not doing well. His blood pressure was falling. His breathing was shallow and fast. Donna took charge immediately, the way she always did. She read the situation, called out her orders, and reached for a central line kit. A central line would give them access to the large veins near the heart, so they could push fluids fast. It was a reasonable decision. It was also, in this case, the wrong one. Maya was running the secondary monitor. She was watching the numbers, the rhythm of his breathing, the way his chest rose unevenly. Then she saw something. His trachea, the tube in his throat that carries air to the lungs, was slightly off-center. It was shifted to the left. She looked at the chest image on the monitor. The air was not moving correctly on the left side of his chest. She understood what she was looking at. It was a tension pneumothorax. Air had gotten trapped inside the chest cavity and was building up pressure, slowly collapsing the lung and pushing everything else out of position. If it was not fixed immediately, it would push against the heart, drop the blood pressure to nothing, and kill him. And if Donna placed a central line first, the extra time wasted and the position of the procedure would make everything worse. Maya said it quietly at first. "I think we have a tension pneumo." Donna did not hear her, or she heard her and moved past it. She was already calling for the central line kit, her voice steady and certain. Maya said it again, louder. "Donna, tension pneumo. We need to needle him, now." The room went still for just a moment. Everyone looked at Donna, then at Maya, then back at Donna. Donna turned. Her expression was not warm. He presented with chest wall trauma, not. "His trachea is deviated to the left," Maya said. She was already picking up a large bore needle, 14 gauge, the right size to release the pressure. Her hands were completely steady. "His blood pressure is tanking. If we wait on that central line, we're going to lose him." She looked at Donna directly. "I need you to trust me for 30 seconds." It was the most she had said to anyone on that floor in 6 weeks. Donna stared at her. Something passed across her face. Not agreement exactly, but something close to recognition. She stepped back. She let Maya work. The needle went into the second intercostal space on the left side of the patient's chest, just below the collarbone. There was a hiss of air, sudden, clear, unmistakable. The air pressure inside the chest released. Within 90 seconds, the patient's blood pressure began to climb. His breathing steadied. The monitor numbers, which had been sliding toward disaster, turned around. The attending physician came in shortly after and reviewed everything. He pulled Donna to the side. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. He told her that if the central line had gone in first, the patient would very likely not have survived the procedure. The underlying problem would have killed him before the fluids did any good. Donna did not apologize. That was not her nature. But she did not laugh anymore either, and neither did anyone else. The atmosphere on the floor changed after that, not dramatically, not with any announcement or ceremony, but in the quiet ways that matter. Nurses began to listen when Maya spoke. Residents started watching her work instead of looking past her. The eye rolls stopped. The whispers faded. Maya kept doing what she had always done. She kept asking questions. She kept checking her dosages twice. She kept moving with a careful, deliberate confidence that looked, to people who did not know her, like caution, but was actually the opposite. It was the movement of someone who had learned, in the worst possible conditions, that slow and right is always faster than fast and wrong. 3 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon in early December, a man walked through the doors of St. Augustine's Memorial Emergency Room on his own 2 feet. This alone was notable, because he moved with the careful, deliberate step of someone who had spent a long time relearning how to walk. He was in his late 40s. He was broad across the shoulders, and his face had the weathered, settled look of someone who had spent years outdoors in difficult places. He wore civilian clothes. He carried no flowers. He asked the woman at the intake desk, in a quiet and direct voice, whether a nurse named Maya Chen still worked in the emergency room. His name was Daniel Rourke. He had served for 17 years in naval special warfare. He had been on missions in places most people would never find on a map. He had received 4 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star, and 2 Purple Hearts over the course of his career. And 12 years earlier, in a valley in Kunar Province, Afghanistan, he had been dragged from a burning armored vehicle by a 19-year-old Navy corpsman during an ambush that lasted 11 minutes and left 2 of his teammates dead. He had been shot in the femoral artery in his left leg. Without immediate intervention, he would have bled to death in under 4 minutes. That 19-year-old corpsman had packed the wound with her bare hands, in the dark, while rounds were still hitting the ground around them. She had kept pressure on the artery for 9 minutes, until other help arrived. She had talked to him the entire time, calmly, telling him to breathe, telling him to stay with her. He had been medevaced out. He had spent months recovering. His leg had been partially rebuilt through multiple surgeries. He had gone back to active duty. He had eventually retired. He had spent the last 2 years trying to find the young corpsman who had saved his life, and the lives of 2 other men on the ground that night, because he felt, not as a formality, not as a mission accomplished, but as a simple human fact, that she deserved to hear what her actions had meant. Maya came around the corner from the back hallway with a chart under her arm, and stopped when she saw him. For a moment she just stood there, the way a person stands when they recognize something that their brain is still trying to confirm. He looked different from the man she remembered. Older, calmer, more settled in his body, but the eyes were the same. She would have known those eyes anywhere. "Corpsman Chen," he said. "I'm a nurse now. she said. It was the most purely Maya thing she could have said in that moment, and it made him laugh. A real laugh. The full kind. The kind that comes from somewhere deep in the chest. Then he looked around the nurses' station, at Donna Kessler standing with a clipboard, at the 3 nurses near the supply cabinet, at the 2 residents leaning against the wall, at the intake clerk watching from her desk. And he spoke. "I have given briefings to 3 congressional subcommittees," he said. His voice was not loud, but it carried. "I have sat in rooms with generals and senators. I have been asked, more than once, what I consider the most important moment I witnessed in 17 years of naval special warfare." He paused. The nurses' station was completely quiet. Someone had turned down the radio in the back room, though nobody remembered doing it. "I tell them about her," he said. "Every time." He looked at Maya, and his jaw tightened in the way it does when a person is deciding not to let something show on their face. She was 19 years old. She was in the dark, under fire, with limited supplies and no backup. In 9 minutes, she made a series of decisions that saved my life, and the lives of 2 other men. I have thought about that night almost every day for 12 years. He stopped, then finished simply. "I have met a lot of people. I have never met anyone braver." The nurses' station stayed quiet for a long moment after he finished. Donna Kessler was holding her clipboard against her chest, and her expression was one that nobody on that floor had ever seen on her face before. Maya thanked him. They spoke for a while in the hallway, quietly, catching up on 12 years in the way that people do when they have shared something too large to fully explain, but too important to leave unspoken. He told her about his recovery, his retirement, his family. She told him about nursing school, about the ER, about the life she had built in the years since they had last seen each other in that burning valley. When he left, Maya went to the supply closet at the back of the floor and stood there for a few minutes by herself. She did not fall apart, but she let herself feel it, the strange, quiet relief of being fully known by someone who understood exactly what she had done and exactly what it had cost. When she came back out, Donna Kessler was standing near the door of the closet. The older nurse did not say much. She put one hand on Maya's shoulder and kept it there for a moment. Then she said, "I want to hear about Kunar Province." And for the first time since she had walked through the doors of St. Augustine's Memorial Hospital, Maya Chen sat down with a colleague and told her story. She kept her job, she kept her habits, she kept asking questions and checking her dosages, and moving with that careful, grounded purpose that people had once mistaken for weakness. But from that day forward, nobody on that floor made the mistake of laughing. Some people announce who they are the moment they walk into a room. Others wait, not out of fear, not out of strategy, but because they have learned that real strength does not need an audience. Maya Chen had always known who she was. She had simply been waiting for the room to catch up.